Hi, I'm Owen from the English Folk Dance and Song Society, and I'm here with John Spiers, who's playing at Cecil Sharp House on the 21st of October. So John, you've been doing a solo tour for a little while. How's that going?
It's going really well, yeah, really well. Enjoying it a lot. First one I did ever was about a year and a half ago at Cecil Sharp House itself, and which was an incredibly nerve-wracking experience, but I have to say that it's grown from that, and I'm enjoying it a lot more, having got the first few out of the way. It's about 50-50 traditional material and stuff that I've written. So yeah, I've written tunes ever since I played the instrument. It's kind of part of my practice regime is to muck about until something comes out of it, and eventually that distills into a tune. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the dancey stuff that I'm quite well known for in there, hornpipes and some French schottisches, in fact, but there's also quite a few more sort of slower and contemplative pieces. I'll bring the concertina out once in a while, and I'm doing a couple of songs as well, so it's a bit of a mix.
Let's talk about the Melodeon as an instrument for a moment.
Yeah.
So, is it just a slightly rubbish piano accordion?
No. How dare you? It's a slightly better piano accordion. No, it's the original sort of accordion-shaped instrument that was invented in the 1820s in sort of somewhere between Italy and Germany. And they started out as a single-row instrument that just had a push-pull pattern of notes, which is very similar to how a mouth organ works, but with buttons and bellows instead. And they've grown from that into instruments that have 2 rows of keys, or 3 rows of keys, or in some cases even more than that. And there are so many different varieties of instrument that they've, you know, every part of the world that they've touched has a very slightly different system. So it's quite an interesting thing if you're a Melodeon geek like I am. But they make the sound in the same way as an accordion.
Mm. You're probably the most English-sounding Melodeon player on the scene, I think, at the moment. You've kind of defined the sound over the last decade, I feel.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I've drawn a lot from revival players who played in an English style, and that was born out of necessity, really, by playing for English dancing. So my introduction to all squeezebox playing came from Morris dancing and Cayley dancing, and because I'm from England, it was English Morris dancing and Cayley dancing. So it's carried over into the other stuff I've done. So when I write stuff that isn't specifically for dancing, once you've learned to play in a particular style, it's there for good. It's difficult to shake it off completely, but I've found it works really well when I've played in combinations where you're supporting the song. If you use the same driving dynamics that the English dance style has, it works really well and gives a really nice driving rhythm to an upbeat song. So yes, it's been fun. But I mean, I think I'm as influenced in terms of the music I like by the sort of the French Euro dance style that's quite prevalent in English Melodeon playing as well. I haven't completely been immune to that, but because I started where I did, it's the English rhythms is there in force.
Well, as with every musical instrument, there's got certain limitations, and
yeah.
particularly for Melodeon, I guess, key and notes you have available to you, and which notes kind of are available on the push and pull.
Yeah.
So would you say, with the Melodeon in particular, those restrictions have shaped the way that folk tunes have developed over the last 150 years?
It's definitely a two-way process. I mean, you can really hear with a lot of the tunes which ones sound like they were written by someone on a Melodeon. And in fact, at its very heart of it, you don't actually have to play a known tune to accompany a dance, and it does sound, with some of those source recordings, as if they were just jabbing their fingers on the buttons and pushing and pulling in a vaguely rhythmic way and getting a tune out of it that way. But yeah, I do think if you listen to Melodeon music from different traditions that have used it, especially one-row Melodeon, because that's the most limited, there are lots of similarities between the dance music of Canada that uses it, some of the West Coast and the islands around Western Ireland, and the stuff that's done in East Anglia on one-row Melodeons. There's a lot of similarity there, so it's obvious that it does shape the music to some degree.
Do you do much one-row playing out of interest?
I do, but I do it on two-row Melodeons. They have got a very good sound, and I do own some one-row instruments, but I don't tend to play them on stage just because I like to have the extra basses available.
Yeah.
But quite often you'll find me on a 2.5 or 3-row instrument just sticking to one row, because that gives you the rhythm of the one row even if you're playing it on a 2-row instrument.
So the Melodeon is quite often paired with the fiddle, and you and John Bowden obviously played together for a very long time. So in your experience, why does that combination work so well with those two instruments?
Well, the fiddle's got all the expression. A Melodeon has expression to some degree, but it's a mechanical instrument really. The fiddle has the ability to slide notes, which you can't do on the squeeze box. Also, generally, the sound of a nicely played fiddle note is quite similar in tone, only just distinguishable from the right hand of a Melodeon. So if you create interweaving patterns between the two, on the right hand of the Melodeon and the fiddle, you get that sort of trick to the ear where you're not quite sure who's got the melody and who's supporting it, which is always a really intriguing thing for a listener. And at the same time, you've got the other hand free with the Melodeon. The fiddle player has to have 2 hands to make one note. You can play as many as you want, but you can get that's the bass line and change the chords underneath it. So it's a very, you've got pretty much everything you need for. You've got the rhythm of the left hand, so that kind of takes would make a guitar not absolutely necessary. You've got a bass line, you've got 2 melody lines. It's kind of a perfect duo, really.
So was that something you were really aiming to do in that duo, just make that kind of full band sound with the two of you?
It wasn't the intent to start with. When we started out, we were listening to other duos at the time. James Fagan and Nancy Kerr were quite local to us, and we used to see them a lot and were amazed with what they got out of their instruments. But we just wanted to make the best music we could, and we found the tricks along the way without actually analysing it first. It wasn't that much thought that went into it at the beginning.
So when you then go into playing in a huge band like Bellowhead, where obviously there's a big sound in every sonic area, how do you go about carving out a space for the Melodeon in that?
Well, having listened to the albums, you don't really. It's very hard to hear. Everyone in the band complains of not being able to hear themselves. There are times when it's sort of brought up to the front because it's got a main sort of melody line in the arrangement, but really, without very careful mixing, there's no way you can just leave the mix untouched and have everything so you can hear everything. It seems to be an impossible task. Live, it seems to work better, I think, because you've got the visual, you can focus. If you're looking at an instrument playing in a live setting, you can kind of focus your ears on that instrument and hear it through all the noise. I'm always amazed by the way that works, but it does seem to be a thing that happens. But the Melodeon, it plays far less a role than it does when I'm doing the solo shows, for example, because it's got to just be a part of a band. It's got to so if there's a riff to be had in between a song like New York Girls, then I'm playing that pumping rhythm, which gives it that kind of Cajun feel to it. And all that you have to hear is that. So it's a very different thing playing on your own with 10 other people. Yeah.
So once this tour's over, going straight into touring with Bellowhead, and then you've got the final leg coming up in April. Have you thought about life after Bellowhead? Any plans for that?
Yeah, it's pretty hard while you're still doing the Bellowhead thing, and these tours are quite big tours because they're the last tours, and there'll be work on bringing some of the old repertoire back into it and everything. So there is work to be done still with Bellowhead. You can't just turn up and do it. And it kind of gets in the way of planning for stuff next year. But this solo thing, I'm going to be continuing that into next year. There hopefully will be an album out next year as well, which it's something that I've been working on for about 7 years.